Hey, Black Barn Social Club, God bless America. We're doing a tailgate review on the John Lofgren Engineer Boot. John Lofgren is, I don't have to introduce you to John Lofgren any more than we already have. It's a tremendous boot experience. I have had I've had mixed results with John Lofgren, but the more I've gotten my hands on 4 or 5 of these now, and far and away the construction of them, the attention to detail, the way they're made, the way they're finished is nothing short of just stunning. I could question some of the clicking. I could question, that one boot that had some a discoloration in it. But I think a lot of boot makers, get in a pinch and they you got all these panels that they've put together, and if they're just trying to make a pair of boots work, then maybe that's what happens, and that's how certain things slip through. But again, at some point in time, I got to quit talking about that story, because it really was, I think, the exception and not the rule. This, I think, is the rule. When you touch a John Lofgren boot, you're getting something that's exquisitely made. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not 100% sure, and I wasn't 100% sure that this was the type of boot for me. I tend to be a lace-up boot guy. I tend to like the short. I like the heritage boots. I like the shorter, 6-inch. I'm not even that big on the 8-inch, uplands and boots like that. So going to something like this was a little bit of a stretch. And it changes the way you style things, and it changes you can't wear certain jeans with boots, and like this anyway. So I was a little hesitant, and a lot of the reason why I went ahead and did it was because of just the following of the engineer boot. There's so many of you guys have said you gotta get into engineers. So there's a part of me that's saying, okay, here, I'm doing it. And then there's another part of me that's saying, thank you. Thank you for pushing me to do something like this, because it is so impressive. So let me tell you more about what an engineer boot is. Let me tell you a little bit about, what John Lofgren puts in their engineer boots, and then we'll talk some more about random stuff, because I'm not going to keep it on the tracks. No pun intended. So an engineer boot is they were developed in the 30s. I think Chippewa and Wesco came out with them first. They were developed for a utility purpose for train employees, railroad employees that I think they called them firemen back then, but they were the guys that were shoveling the coal into the steam engines. And they needed a purpose-built boot to be able to, protect them, keep the embers from popping out on them, burning them. It was just, you can imagine back then it was pretty dangerous, and this was one of their safety equipment. Now, what makes an engineer boot? An engineer boot, it's going to be laceless. It's going to be tall, full grain leather, or at least that's kind of the characteristics of it. It would be, what else am I thinking? It would need to fit well, fit good, but also be able to come off and pull off in an emergency pretty quickly. So really it's kind of like we would use a muck boot today, but this was their muck boot. It was just something you would pull on for the task, and then they just became just this lived-in piece of gear. In the 40s, motorcycle riders kind of adopted the engineer boot, and they started, again, it started that style of the rebel look. A lot of World War II vets and stuff like that started coming back and really migrating towards this kind of a boot. Marlon Brando in 1953 did the Wild one, and I think that pretty much locked it in history as just being an iconic piece of fashion wear. And then, of course, the 70s and, all the rockers. And I mean, the boot just kind of took on a life of its own. John Lofgren's version of this is a pretty faithful reproduction of all those things. This one, Natural CXL, which let me just say, Natural CXL is far and away one of my favorite, I mean, if not my favorite, and I'm saving a little bit for some future videos because again, Natural CXL for me is peak. In every application, it's peak. So this particular boot, Natural CXL, and I'm gonna say, I feel like it's thicker than any boot that I've ever gotten in Natural CXL. It just feels thicker. This is one of those few times that I wished I did have a micrometer, because I mean, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this is, rather than being your typical 5 to 5.5 ounce, I'm thinking this is closer to 7. It's got a lot of heft in the shaft and everything, and it's just in fact, it's just impressive. So the things that make this boot, 270 degree storm welt, all the way, again, 270 degrees. That's an American product. The Vibram 705 and 700 soles with a little bit of extra stitching on this particular one. So it's got the split sole, or the half sole, but it's got the stacked woodsman heel, which is that scalloped kind of a heel. A little bit taller, 1.75 inches is what this heel is. That's taller than I'm used to. I'm not against it. I tend to like, in fact, with the taller heels, I feel like that gives you a little bit more arch support, or at least it requires more arch support for you. And these will have steel shanks in them, and just be part of that. That's just part of the makeup of your engineer boots. Let me think, what else do you want to know? I mean, the stitching is absolutely perfect. The look is perfect. The clicking is perfect. It's just wicked. Some of the things that made me nervous about going ahead and getting a boot like this, one, I'd seen like Carl Mikowski and different ones do videos of how they couldn't get these to fit. They couldn't get them to pull on. So this is the 110 last. Let me say some things about the 110 last. That's their fuller last. It's taller for a higher instep, and it's made for their slip-on boots. So their Chelseas and their engineers, that's kind of why this boot last come to be. I had no problem at all putting this thing on, and I followed their directions. I sized half down from a Brannock, and again, this is an 11D, so I sized half down, and it pulls on like a champ. The only thing I'll critique it about is it is a little bit looser fitting in the heel than I'm used to. I'm really used to being able to cinch up the laces and get a boot to fit really well. In this case, by design, it's a pull-on boot. So it's gonna fit a little bit looser, but not so much that it would bother me. Lofgren obviously is going to command a premium for their boot. This was not cheap, but again, their premium is justified by them, and I guess we have to decide if we're going to go that way or not. I didn't. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to go into the is it worth it or not, because we've all got to figure that out. But I can tell you right now, I don't see anything on here that says it shouldn't be. There's quite a bit more real estate in the leather that's gonna drive up the cost of manufacturing it. And of course, you know, John Lofgren's got his ethics and standards around you know, being able to source the products ethically and pay people well. And so there's all that stuff that goes with a Lofgren price tag. So I'm really impressed with it. I'm so impressed with it. The things you got to think about is you got to buy your pants big enough to go over it. You got to, you know, again, there's going to be a little bit of looseness around it that you just, you know, And I can only assume in a leather like Natural CXL that this will just continue to break down, break in, and become more comfortable. Which, to be honest, I haven't worn it enough to talk about how comfortable it is or isn't. I can tell you how it fits, but I can't tell you if it's going to feel good in 2, 3, 4 weeks. And again, give me some time because I'm going to start breaking this thing in. When I sell these things, now the truth of the matter is, I do get a lot of questions about why I choose things, why I keep things, why I sell things. The fact of the matter is I will put some time in them and I'll decide if they fit me or not. And I don't mean just fit. I mean, do they work with me or not? Sometimes you find yourself dating a boot, and I say that sometimes so many people want a boot that you think that you have to say yes to it. You think I have to give that a try. If that many people love that, then I got to give it a try. And I won't know until I've done that, and then it, so like I said, don't read too far into things when they sell, or when I don't keep them, because again, sometimes they just don't work. I'm thinking of a pair in there that I'm going to sell. It's another pair of John Lofgrens that I've got. So just a quick recap. When I've got 2 or 3, I've got a pair of brand new ones that I'm selling because I bought several at the same time. So I bought a pair of brand new ones that I'm going to sell. I've got a pair of used ones that I'm going to keep, and then I've got a pair of El Capitans. This is their kind of a hybrid M43 boot, like a service boot. And the more I wear it, the more I realize that I'm not a fan of how it makes my foot look. And I think that's totally random reason that's special to me, but I don't like boots that make my foot look short. And that particular one, if you'll go back and watch the videos, I bought it a half size short. It still fits. But when I look down at my feet, I just don't like the way it looks. So it's one of those things that it'll make somebody a great boot, but it's not going to make me a keeper. This one I might put in that same category. I just need to spend some time with it. I think again, I think that not every boot is meant for everybody. Now that said, I am gonna give this a college try, because wow, is that an attractive boot. Now again, I don't know that I'll ruin it, work it, do any of those things. I kind of like, it's got this toe puff, but I do kind of like the low profile toe on it. Like I said, there is a toe puff in there. It's not totally unstructured, but I think it will collapse, and I'm looking forward to that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this thing patinas over time. So kind of hope it works for me. I hope I can get used to it. Again, it's a little different when you put it on, and I'll work some footage in of me wearing it. But when you put it on, it's a dramatically different looking boot on than I'm used to wearing. So again, I'm gonna have to get I'm gonna get the right pants to wear over it, boot cut jeans or whatever to wear over it. And then I'm gonna have to just find the right settings to be in them. But yeah, I mean, what a good looking boot. So anyway, that's my truck bed review of the John Lofgren Engineer Boots. I've recorded this about 6 times, so I feel like I've said stuff. I feel like I've forgotten stuff. Hopefully this makes perfect sense to you guys. Hope I've done the boot justice. You guys be blessed, and we will talk soon.